Welcome to the Sales Dojo podcast. The podcasts are here to help you address the real issues salespeople face every single day.
Full squad out today. I'm in Liverpool. Chris, are you at home?
Yeah, always.
And Susie, we're on the planet. We should make this part of the podcast. Where's Susie?
Susie is in Weingarten today, which is
that where they make the games?
Well, it's Ravensburg, which is where they make the board games, the Ravensburger board games. Leon, look at your face, taking you back to your childhood memories there, Leon, for sure.
It is. I used to love playing Differ-X.
That was a childhood favorite of mine, Differ-X. I spot the difference.
I'm Buckaroo.
Yeah,
Before we insult all the Germans, maybe we should talk about sales.
We should. I won't insult anyone. I said I like the game, but what is your favourite board game, Susie?
I do love a bit of Trivial Pursuit.
Okay. Chris?
You know what? I'm going to go old school. Mousetrap was
that is cool.
But it took far longer to set it up than actually play the game in the end, but it was a quality one.
True.
Yeah.
See, I always think that one of the things I learned a lot by playing Mousetrap was actually patience. Balancing that little net that wobbled down.
Yeah.
This is great on audio, not so great on video. Was when my sister and my brother were trying to nudge it so that it fell down, was a great resilience that I learned when I was younger. Mine will probably be Pop-Up Pirate. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about sales posts from the week. We found 4. I'm sure we've told people loads of times, but Chris, Susie, and I have a WhatsApp group where we share posts. And someone had a bright idea. I think it was Susie, because she comes with most of the bright ideas.
Never.
We should probably discuss these on a pod so we can share the brilliance or the awfulness with you, our listeners. So that's what we're going to do. If you spot one, just email improve@thesalesdojo.com and we'll maybe have a chat about it next week. That'd be really interesting. Chris, the first post is from you, and it's from Eddie Rowley, and it's a post that we see a lot, that first line.
It is. Eddie, how you doing, pal? Eddie posted this a couple of weeks ago now, so it's probably disappeared on all your feeds, but if you look at all our socials, we'll pop links to the post that we talk about there. You can go and check them out. Go and give Eddie a follow, Eddie Rowley, SDR experts for complex B2B sales. You can visit his website, blah, blah, blah. So why did this get my attention? Well, of course it did, because the first sentence is cold calling's dead, which makes me just want to put my fist through a brick wall or something. But he doesn't really mean it, because he followed it with, or so LinkedIn keeps telling me. Must be why we book tons of qualified meetings every month using exactly that dead method. So Eddie goes on to say, here's my theory. See, hard-won knowledge bomb. Ooh. Cold calling isn't dead, Eddie says. It's just that 95% of the people doing it are shit. There's a reason so many cold calls sound identical. Generic opening, then a feature dump, then desperate attempt to book a meeting before being hung up on. No wonder people hate them. When you call somebody who's never heard of you and immediately launch into, we help companies like yours with X solution, you've already lost, says Eddie. They don't care about your solution. They care about whether you're going to waste their time. The calls that work start differently. He says you demonstrate you understand their business or industry before you ask for anything. Make it clear you've done your homework. Suddenly, the person on the other end starts to think you might have something relevant to say after all. The calls that work don't give up at the first hurdle either. Complex B2B, timing matters more than the pitch. Not interested today might be your best opportunity in 3 months when the circumstances change. He goes on to say cold calling works when you've got people who can have actual conversations instead of reading scripts. People who can think on their feet and handle objections without sounding defensive and pissy. It works when you're calling the right people at the right companies with something genuinely relevant to them. That shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone, says Eddie. Cold calling isn't dead in the UK or anywhere else. It's just that half the people doing it are killing it themselves through terrible execution. And then he says, what's your take? So I could abridge your post for you a little bit, Eddie, that cold calling's dead to you if you don't do it very well. If you do it well, then it'll work for you. That's what the post is saying. The there was just a couple of points. It's a couple of weeks ago that I shared this, but I like to take on a lot of people online. They say cold calling are dead. Hey, they're doing it for rage, mate, aren't they? They just want clicks. Their self-worth comes from interaction on LinkedIn. Or they've had a go at it once and they weren't very good, so they've decided it doesn't work. Or they're trying to sell email marketing, social media marketing, whatever. Any company who sits with a quality cold calling team knows that it works. It's just not as easy as it used to be. I think I had this chat with Rich well back when he was at Refract, wasn't it? Rich Smith. And he was saying, like, you read cold calling's dead on LinkedIn, even though there is hard evidence it generates millions of pounds worth of revenue every day for businesses. But I do agree with this point. If doing it badly doesn't work anymore, it's a proper skill. You've proper got to have skin in the game here. And the part that I wanted to zoom in on this post was where he says it's about calling the right people at the right companies at the right time. Most people I'm coming across with now think that their call opener's not working or they need more phone skills. They've not gone that step backwards. Their list is awful. Doesn't matter how good your phone skills are. If you're calling nothing but receptionists, you're not going to get very far. If you're calling people who just aren't the ideal fit for what you do, you're going to really struggle. If you're calling people that just don't have the problems that you solve, it doesn't matter how good you are on your phone. And I'm getting really into this at the moment, is look at your list. Spend time, resource and money on the data first. Your calls will get a lot better because of that. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, my calls are going really horribly wrong, I've had 50 gatekeepers today, that's it. That's because you're phoning 0800 numbers, you're phoning business centres, you're phoning whatever. There's an abundance of mobile numbers out there. Or, oh, they just weren't interested. Well, should they be interested? Like, are you trying to bang a square peg in a round hole? Don't blame your sales skills when sometimes the greatest salespeople in the world still haven't got a chance because you're speaking to the wrong people. Have a look at your list. Caveat on that, this isn't an excuse for all salespeople in the world to go, oh, it's not my fault, boss, your list's rubbish. I'm not giving you an excuse here. Susie, I saw you very politely nodding along to some of what I was saying then. Gave me a warm glow.
I'm glad it gave you a warm glow. Everybody, that was the Chris Dawson show for the last 5 minutes.
Sorry, everyone.
The reason I was giving you lots of nodding was because there was a heck of a lot of stuff that you read out from both Eddie, but also what that you said, Chris, that I agree on or agree with. If you've got a bad list, you're setting yourself up for failure. I think to jump on that again as well, the piece that Eddie writes about, being the right timing and stuff. I remember when we were talking on Clubhouse all those years ago, that's how the three of us met, right? Was on Clubhouse during COVID. One of the stats that always got talked about was I think it takes between like 7 and 12 attempts to get somebody to react to your outreach. Now, I'm not saying that's 7 and 12 cold call attempts. It could be a whole mixture of things in there, including LinkedIn messages or direct messages, phone calls, of course, are included in that. But ultimately, I think some people are giving up just too soon as well. It is a timing game. People have windows. If you think about your own personal, day, there are certain times when a phone call really is not the best thing for you to receive during your working day, and other times when actually it fits. And it's a bit of a luck game as well. So I think one of the things I wanted to jump on here was timing is important. And if you don't get the timing right the first time, you haven't closed that door. Put it back on your CRM to call them back in a measured amount of time, whether that's 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, and do it again and call them again at a different time of day. Try a different time. If you tried them in the afternoon, try in the morning. If you tried on a Monday, try on a Thursday. Like, there are different things you can try to get hold of them. So yeah, that was the one that I wanted to jump on. I think there's so much stuff we could pick out of this LinkedIn post. Leon, what stood out to you?
You know what? It's funny you should say that, Susie, because I was doing a little bit of work with, Think Wine and We Are Social Nation, Catherine Jones and stuff. Yeah. So just having a chat with their team about some stuff. And I spent the next 2 days thinking that there's no such thing as no, it's only not yet. And I wondered if everything was either yes or not yet. Because for the stuff that they do, the offer wasn't compelling enough right now, but it might be in the future. for the stuff that they do about supply, and they already had a supplier, but in the future they might have. So, yeah, look, I disagree with a couple of things on here, if I'm being completely honest. The first one is around, oh, my screen just went off, which isn't a great look for when you're reading a post. Give me a second. I might try and get this edited. My screen has come back on now, so we're all good. The thing that was calls at work start differently. I'm not sure that calls at work start differently than all the others. Like, it just has to be something different that you've heard before. So, like, I think Chris always tells the joke of the convention of Karens, where all the people who answer the phones all meet up once a month and talk about all the things they should say to cold callers for the reasons to not put them through. And I think you just need to be one step ahead of them. So if you can get tickets for the Karen convention so you can hear what they're talking about, you can do something slightly different. And the other thing as well, calls that work don't give up at the first hurdle. Any sale that works doesn't give up at the first hurdle. Like, that's just common sense, that. And it's nothing to do with calls. This is like, you see someone online and you try and phone a number that's on the website and it doesn't ring. 500 people tried to phone that number. 495 of them have given up and it doesn't ring and gone on to the next lead. So if you're one of the 5 who then try and find a different number, go on LinkedIn, use one of the many bits of technology that can get other phone numbers for people, and that's really important to try and do that. But yeah, not interested today might be your best opportunity in 3 months when their circumstances change. All of this, the thing that, like, when people talk about prospecting, which is what this cold calling thing is, like, you're not fucking selling nothing. You're actually just prospecting. Prospecting is different than selling. Like, prospecting is trying to put people in for later conversations and doing that thing to go from suspect to prospect. So I suspect they might be useful, but then you prospect the ones that you know are useful and they have a conversation with. And the only other thing I would say is, one of the things I talk about loads when I'm having a conversation with anyone about this is about not being submissive when you're doing this stuff. Sorry to bother you. I know you're busy, all that bullshit. You need to be on the level with anyone that you're doing some work with. Otherwise, kindness can be exploited and mistaken for weakness. Okay. It was a Chris Dawson show, then it was a Susie Matheson show, and then it was over to the Leon McCowan show for the last 5 minutes.
I think we're only allowed to give 2-word answers to everything from now on. All right.
Look, I think it says everything about the fact that not only Eddie's post, but also the fact that loads of people are talking about cold calling is dead. And I know when we first started doing Sales Dojo stuff, maybe 2016, 17, Chris, and we used to get really angry about this stuff. And I think we've very much matured as human beings because now we just enjoy it and like talking about it. So fair play to us.
I'm raging deep down. I'm absolutely raging. Yeah, I'm just hiding it. That's all.
Fair play, fair play. So the next post is one that I found. Chris Nash, and he says, is Chris as a fractional sales leader, scaling revenue, strategy and structure? Again, we'll put a link in the post so you can follow Chris, because if he's done this post, and the chances are he's done some other recently decent ones as well. He says, more leads won't solve your sales problem if your sales system isn't working. When sales drop, business leaders instinctively shout, we need more leads. This triggers increased marketing spend that rarely delivers the expected results. The problem might not be the number of leads you get, and it might be what you do with the ones you already have. Start with lead quality. What's the point in generating more leads if they're wrong clients? If your targeting is off, volume won't fix this. And this, funny enough, this will link to another post that we're talking about in a minute. Chris, you very kindly introduced me to someone who told me that he needed help not so long ago about this thing that he needs help with. And actually, when I went and sat down with them, the process was crap. Like, they had 10 people in the office. They all did different stuff. They all changed what they were doing because Moira was doing that. So they changed that next day. And then Sarah was doing this. So they changed the next day. And they didn't have a process. And I think this ties into the point about, like, no, not now. And Susie said about, phone them back in 2 months or 3 months. If you become outcome orientated on a lead and think you've got to get them to say yes to buy your product or service in a 30-minute call, 1, you're nuts. But 2, you're just going to end up being sad and feeling really upset about it. But if you think your process is to move this a bit closer, like you say all the time, Chris, to move this a little bit closer to being a client or an opportunity, and you've got a process, if you then make sure after every call you mark that for a phone call back in 2 months, 3 months, or whatever your lead time is, every single call's a win. Like, every single one of them's a win.
Did you really say that, Chris? That sounds very wise of you if you said that.
Don't you believe that Chris would be wise, Susie? That would awkward.
Well, of course, it just like, yeah, you just made it sound like he says it all the time. I was like, I think I've just heard that for the first time.
I don't like to show off about my skills and knowledge, Susie. That's how I hide my light under a bushel in the sales world.
But Leon, we're totally with you on this one, right? If you have got a bad sales process and you're just getting more leads in, you're just burning those leads, and it's a waste. It's a waste of good leads. And there's always a couple of dodgy leads there as well, like that aren't worth the while. But in general, this is what we see as well, Chris, you and I. I mean, we've had customers who suddenly, we've been doing lots of training on, I don't know, deeper discovery and really getting to improve the quality of the conversation with the customer to uncover more impacts and the impact of the pains they're having, etc. And then suddenly their sales dip and they're like, oh, we need more leads. And it's like, well, no, you just need to carry on doing what you're doing, which is to get under the bonnet of more customers and really understand what's going on in their world. So you can A, qualify them and decide whether they're worth your time, and B, really dig deeper and spend time having conversations, helping them to realize how their world would be different if they solved whatever the problem is that they've got, right? So I totally agree that it's often not the solution to get more leads. It's actually to improve on the working through the leads you're using. And one of the things we used to do in our team when I was running an inside sales team was we would measure close rates, right? I know every single customer measures close rates, but we would highly monitor it because we had a really easy system, which was typically 1 in 4 customers that trialed our product bought it. So if you could increase your close rate to more than 25%, you were improving the quality of the conversations you were having. And imagine how fewer leads you would need if your close rate was 33% instead of 25%, right? That's 1 in 3 rather than 1 in 4. It's a really small shift in that percentage, but that means you've got to work way less harder to get those leads in if you're converting more of them in the first place. So yeah, I agree with this. I think it is often the problem or the issue that we have is that leaders say, bring us more leads because our sales aren't right. And actually, if you spent more time working on that quality bit, the discovery, the qualification even, that can help convert more leads and opportunities into customers.
Do you think a lot of this is just human nature? Like, we have a problem, do more stuff, do more activity. Like, if we work harder, it'll be better. And it's almost, in the sales world, it's slightly easier to just increase activity than actually stop and look at quality. I do this a lot when we're looking at cold outreach training is, people can be really good at getting attention, building rapport, having a call opener, working on the voice tone. Where they really struggle is the nail-biting stuff of qualifying. I'm not talking this pre-discovery, proper qualification, and going against everything in their body to say, you know what, we're not the right fit for you. You shouldn't be in our pipeline. You are clogging up our pipeline. Without giving a terrible analogy, which I'm about to do it. I live in a very old house. We've been here less than a year. It's had some issues. The worst issue by far happened a couple of weeks ago when our toilet wouldn't work. It was clogged. And we had to get a drain company out. And it turned out there was 50 years of shit stuck in the drain and the pipe going down the back of the house. Worst day of my life. We had to angle grind it off. There was shit. It was dreadful. Putting more shit in the loo was not going to help the problem. It was a process problem. It was never going to go through that pipeline because it was old and it was literally crap. So it's a fair analogy. It's not a lovely one, but it's a fair analogy. Stop adding more shit in the loo when your pipe's blocked. Look at the quality, clean the pipeline out. Only what should be in there, get a healthier pipe and only put decent fibrous turds in the top and everything will be fine. I used to be on the Sales Dojo podcast. I appreciate this might be my last ever recording, but it's a fair analogy. And you can mute me out whenever you want, Leon. You've got the Zoom controls.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of wanted you to carry on there. I wanted to hear a little bit more about the next steps.
I think I was about to have a Gerald Ratner moment there. Just like destroyed his career in just a few sentences. Oh, look, another post. Let's move on.
Yeah, let us move on. So this is a post from Ryan.
For some reason, Leon's just popped out. He seems to be having a few connection issues. So the third post today is from Ryan Rysert. I hope I've said your name right. And the post starts off with, "Hi, Brian. This is Ryan." That gets your attention already, doesn't it? That's what 90% of reps would say. And it's costing them conversations. Here's why. First name only introductions sound like telemarketing. Prospects hear Ryan and immediately think salesperson I don't know. Full name changes the dynamic. "Hi, Brian. This is Ryan Rysert." It sounds more credible, more professional. One more thing, restate your name later in the call. Prospects don't retain your name from the first 3 seconds. I mean, the post goes on a little bit there, but I'm really interested in the thought process here. I mean, it follows on a little bit from what Eddie was posting about there, Chris, wasn't it? About how to introduce yourself at the beginning of a cold call. We run training programs on this, right? So you could come and spend a whole day with us talking about cold calling. But give us your thoughts on what Ryan was saying there, Chris.
Really interested in the first one because I've just been rereading Daniel Pink. Love Daniel Pink's stuff. And there's a whole section in it about rhyming. And apparently there's something happens to the human brain. We are massively drawn to rhyming. That's why so much marketing has a rhyme in it. I know this is off post, but I'm just really interested. If you just picked a name for yourself that rhymed with the person you were calling, would it add influence to how they received your call? So I could call you Susie. I can't think of any name that rhymes with Susie now. Think of any name that rhymes with Susie? No.
Woozy?
Woozy. Hey, Susie, it's Woozy. So I don't know whether that would work. You know what, Ryan? We love you, mate. You've been on the podcast. We love the stuff you do. My point on this would be, I just don't think names have that much of a bearing at all on the cold call. I don't often even tell somebody my name when I phone them up. I just think it's a fairly moot point, whether it's first name, both name, anything. They say, "Hey, it's Susie. Susie, no, I've interrupted your morning. Listen, I'll get straight to the point. Don't even tell you who I am." And which sounds crazy, I know. Go and listen to some of the best cold calls. Probably don't even use your name. I think it's a bit of a mountain out of a molehill. For me, everybody has a different way. I'm not, I hate this. This is the only way to make a cold call. There's a million ways to make a cold call. But I would hate anybody to read this and think, "Oh my God, I've got to, it'll make a huge difference to my call." From experience, and that's all I can talk from, I just don't think it does. You might disagree, Susie.
I don't disagree. I think the tricky thing here that we often see is that we give out advice about how to make cold calls, and it's typically good advice, but it won't work all of the time. So whatever tips you take from people, you're going to have cold calls that work really well with you doing a particular thing, whether it's a pattern interrupt, whether it's introducing your first and last name, whether it's you starting with a joke, whatever it is that you found that works for those first few seconds of your cold call, it won't always work. As in, that there are still people who hang up or they don't respond how you were expecting them to. Yeah. So I think it's always really tricky to say, do this, it sounds better. Brian, you could be right, yeah, that having a last name said I believe sounds more professional, yeah. And I also agree, repeat your name later so they can kind of note it because they won't have remembered it. I agree with that too. I just think it's a little bit tricky always to say, do this and it will always work, because it won't always work, even if you're using your surname. So my advice for when you're starting a cold call is, first of all, it needs to be you. It needs to be you and your personality. If you're bubbly and happy and funny and jokey, that's what you want to be tuning into. If you're a little bit more of a serious person, more of a quieter speaker, as long as you're sounding confident, then tune in to that part of you. Like, feel yourself before you start a cold call and then measure it. Have a look what works. Try it with the first name. Try it with the first and last name. Try a pattern interrupt. Try not saying your name at all. And see of a sample of 20 calls that I've made, how many did I get through to? How many did I get to talk to for more than 30 seconds? And just do a little, a little strichlist. What's that in English? Like a little tick list, and put a strike down on paper when it's successful and have a look. And then you can make some decisions for yourself as to how you want to do or run your cold calls. There we go. I've said enough, Chris.
No, there's so much flam out there, isn't there, about cold calls? I'm writing a playbook for a company at the moment. Won't mention who they are, but big, literally from when you get up in the morning to the end of the quarter, all the plays that you can do. And I wrote a line it the other day, and I must have copied it off somebody because we were talking about scripts and rehearsing and everything else. And I've written the line in it: sales is a science delivered by an artist, which is ripped off from a famous quote somewhere. I can't remember who it was. And this is when it comes to cold calling. I think cold calling is more artistry than science. Like, there's no strict rules on this, because like there was a guy I was working with the other year. We can all agree, I agree, that, hey, how are you today? Dreadful start to a cold call, yeah? This guy's results were insanely good. And he started every call with asking them how they were. He broke every rule in the book. He smashed it. Why? He was an artist. He knew what he was doing. He was playing with language, and people were like puppets on a string to him. So you're so right, Susie. Find what you're comfortable with and what fits for you. I know we've gone well off piece there, Ryan. But yeah, really, genuinely, just don't get hung up on things like you name it. It just doesn't matter. And it is proven how you sound is far more important than what you say. Like, work on your pace and your tone and everything else well before you work on your script, because that's going to be the make or break bit.
Definitely.
Susie, we've got another post from Chris Trainer here, which was the last post for today. I'm just going to read it out. Chris, if you're listening, hope you're well, pal. Chris Trainer said, and it's quite a short post, most salespeople get this wrong. There's an immediate attention grabber, isn't it? Prospecting is a numbers game. Selling is a skill game. Sales itself is not a numbers game. I got a bit confused. He says the goal of a cold call isn't to book a meeting. That's right. It's to make the prospect feel something about a problem you can solve. Too many reps push products and features instead of probing for real problems. Prospects don't care about your company. They don't care about your rewards. They don't care about your product. They care about the problems. Solve that, and you earn the meeting. And then there's a tag of sales jacker. I'm not too sure what that is. So what Chris is, in a nutshell, saying is they don't care about your bells and whistles. They're sat worrying about their world. Tap into that. Make them feel that problem. And is it worth looking for a solution? Only then should you look at a next step. As we're giving 2-word answers, I'm not going to go on the Chris show with this one. Susie, I'm going to go straight to you. What did you think of that?
You're right. That was my 2-word answer. No. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good challenge. What I love, or what we love at the Sales Dojo, is suggestions as to what that might look or sound like. So I think, Chris, if you could extend your post, maybe there's another one in the making, with some suggestions as to what that might look like when you're trying to get the prospect to feel something about the problem you can solve. Chris and I talk about this as well, as in the Chris who's here with me today, the Chris who talked about his shitty toilet today. He is here as well. And one of the things
podcast host Chris Dawson.
Host, yeah. I mean, Chris, you and I, when we do these cold calling courses, one of the things we talk about is like social proof, for example. If you can talk about others who are being helped or others who might have that particular problem, that can be helpful. I love there's an approach, for example, the alternative approach. So I don't know, let's imagine we were calling about sales training. I mean, I'm doing this off the cuff here, so it won't sound very polished, but a lot of sales leaders that we speak to have the struggle that their salespeople just don't have enough time to do prospecting, yet they're really struggling to hit their numbers at the other side. But I'm sure neither of those two are a problem for you right now, right? So you kind of do an assumptive lead into it to try and get the sales leader talking and either go, you're right, I haven't got a problem with those, or to actually go, no, actually, I do identify with one or other, or both of those things as well. So, there are different ways that you can do this. And I think that's the next step that I'd like to see from you, Chris Trainer, is what does that look like in your world? Chris, anything to add from you?
No, if you're listening to this and you're in a role where you have to pick up the phone, I was doing an exercise the other week with a recruitment company. A really challenging world, recruitment, isn't it? I mean, we think estate agents and solicitors have a bad rep. Poor recruiters get it right in the neck, don't they? They were doing cold calling. We said, right, flip it to make something in your world. So if you're listening to this right now and you're a business owner, you're a salesperson, SDR, whatever it is, and you have to pick up the phone and you think, how do I make it about their world? Well, first of all, write a totally different script. Write one about what would get your attention. What are your 2 biggest problems right now? So I did this with an SDR and they said, well, my 2 biggest problems are I just cannot get past gatekeepers and it's all that my data has. And my second problem is when I do the objection I get the most is just send me an email. If we're interested, we'll get back to you. So right, then you feel there, right, flip the script then. Hey, Mr. SDR, don't know if this is relevant to you at all. Had a lot of conversations with SDRs in recruitment recently. They were telling me the 2 biggest headaches were they just can't get past gatekeepers, but it's all that's on their data. And when they do, they're just getting hit with, just send me an email. If we're interested, we'll get back to you. I don't suppose that sounds familiar to you. And you go, yeah. Well, and you've got their attention. Why? Because it's your world. Right. What are those 2 things for the person you're phoning? Just do that. That's it. That's all they care about. And it was a really useful exercise for them to get into that mindset of, all right. So then they'd phone out and go, hey, speaking to a lot of, fill in the sector name at the moment. This might not be relevant to you, but we've seen a real trend in people coming to us telling us one of 2 things. Either people are coming to them with ridiculous salary expectations, or when they are coming to them, they're getting really fed up with it being just to have a counter argument to get a pay rise off the boss. I don't suppose you're coming across either of those things. And suddenly people in the recruitment world were going, oh God, yeah, this is really annoying me. This is all right. You're into a conversation. And it's just keep that mindset going, which Chris is talking about here. They don't care about you and your products. They care about their problems. There you go, Chris show again. Sorry, Susie. Tell me to shut up. At least I wasn't talking about shit in my toilet.
I guess that's true. But I love it. You've got so much to add on this topic. I mean, it feels like it's been a very Chris-friendly topic selection this week because we've talked a heck of a lot about cold calls, haven't we? You're going to have to help me remember all of them. But we had Eddie talking about cold calling being dead or not being dead. You've just got to do it right. We then had Chris Trainer talking about having the right opener or having the right conversation with the prospect to really get them to talk about their problem. Gosh, that was really badly done. We also had a couple of other posts which I've completely forgotten about. But Chris, well, I'm really hoping that you can remember them.
Hey Brian, this is Ryan. Doesn't rhyming your name with somebody else's name work? Does your name really matter that much within a cold call? And the last one was more leads just don't necessarily solve your problems. You don't need to put more sausage meat on top of the sausage machine when your sausage machine ain't working. It doesn't matter. There's been a theme, Susie. You've not been with us for ages and we got a great theme. Well done, mate. Absolutely love that. Apologies if you now tune out from the Sales Dojo podcast and never listen to it again. I won't be doing it ever again. I've now been barred. Listen, if you've seen something on LinkedIn and you've thought, oh, that was really good advice, I love that, go to improve at the salesdojo.com, drop a link to us and say, please talk about this on the podcast. Maybe you've seen a post and you've thought, oh, they mean well, but I'm worried that that's really bad advice for salespeople. They need to be warned about this. Again, drop us a link, improve at the salesdojo.com. Maybe you've listened to this and thought, oh, that's Susie. I bet she's wearing a boss outfit today with like an orange dot. I want to see what that looks like. You can now, you can. You can go to YouTube, look for thesalesdojo.com. We're on YouTube. You can go on TikTok. I think we're on TikTok now as well, can't you? On all these channels, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share. We want to help as many salespeople as we can hit the target, earn their commission, go and buy those new shoes. Great to see you, Susie.